Okay, this is now Tarot lesson number 143. And two things today. One is, these are the last two cards in the Celtic Cross I did some weeks ago. Because if you knew, my wife Susan had a heart attack on the 25th of March. And surgery 2 weeks later, and she was meant to be in hospital for a week to get back on her feet. But there were complications, fluid around the lungs and in the heart. So she ended up back in emergency, then to critical care, and then to cardiology. And now she's in rehab, and she's supposed to get out on Wednesday. So after the surgery, I did a Celtic Cross wanting to know what was going to happen, how it would go. And the second last card was the Ten of Swords reversed, I think. It was certainly the Ten of Swords. I can't remember if it was reversed. I think it was. And then the last card was the Hanged Man reversed. So one thing, okay, so with the Hanged Man reversed, the indication was it was going to take a lot longer than it should have to get out of hospital and to get better. And that actually happened. So instead of it being 3 weeks from heart attack to returning home, it's going to be 10 weeks and 2 days, actually. So the Hanged Man reversed. If the Hanged Man reversed comes up in a spread, look for delays. I mean, the Hanged Man on its own is delay and suspension. When it's reversed, it's probably an indication that things are going to take an awful lot longer than expected. But the other point I'd like to make is the Ten of Swords reversed. One or two people left comments indicating that maybe, because I was the questioner, this might refer to my fear or imagining the worst. And I have to say that I never did imagine the worst, mainly because of the circumstances of the heart attack, because she had the heart attack in the emergency room in a hospital. And so there was a doctor there like 30 seconds later. And so the way it worked, if you're going to have a heart attack anywhere, have it in a hospital, or in an emergency room in a hospital. So anyway, it occurred to me a little while ago that the card in the ninth position, rather than indicating the hopes or fears of the questioner, maybe the ninth card represents a situation or an atmosphere that you're going to have to go through in the future. Because hopes are about the future, fears are about the future. So maybe the ninth card is about future conditions or a future situation. And so here we've got having to go through a period of wondering if it's ever going to end, which I can't say I ever thought that. But my wife had, she had shortness of breath, and then she was panicking and imagining she's never going to get better and never going to get out of hospital. So maybe the card in the ninth position in a Celtic Cross isn't so much about the hopes and or fears of the questioner. Maybe it's a future condition that you're going to have to go through. And just putting the fact of the Ten of Swords with the Hanged Man reversed, if that's the future, it's not surprising that everything took an awful lot longer than it would normally have taken, because you have surgery and then a week later the following day you're on your feet walking. And Susan wasn't able to do that because of the excess fluid around her lungs and around the heart, which meant the heart couldn't compress properly, so she had no energy. So this, I think, I'm looking at this nine of swords here, ninth card, the Ten of Swords reversed and the Hanged Man reversed. It sums up the situation quite well. So that was that. The second thing is, okay, I'm going to show you something that you've probably never seen before. I can probably say you've never seen this before. And it has to do with the cycle that anybody is in, because some people begin well and then lose interest. Some people take ages to get started, but once they get going, nothing will stop them. And so it can be useful to know that kind of cycle or that kind of method of acting or method of being that applies to the questioner. Because if somebody is easily put off or easily undermined at the beginning, if you've got, let's say, what have we got here? The Wheel of Fortune can be sudden upsets or sudden change. If the person is somebody who is easily undermined, the Wheel of Fortune could be difficult. Whereas if it's somebody who, once they get started, nothing can stop them, then the Wheel of Fortune would be an opportunity maybe for an improvement or for a slightly different take or tack or idea that you can incorporate, which will make things go better. So there's something about, if you can know in advance what kind of person you're dealing with or what their natural and normal method of behaving is, that's useful. It can be useful for you, the reader. But I'm telling you this, but I'm also saying you're going to understand it immediately, but I'm going to say don't do anything with it for 2 months. So I'll show you the method today, but play with it, examine it, try it out in different ways, but don't tell other people about it until you've got until you've spent time thinking about it and working with it and understanding it properly, because it's a bit like you're going to understand it immediately. At least you're going to think you understand it immediately, but if you then immediately or very quickly try to explain it to other people, you're going to get mixed up or you're going to get argued with, and it's going to you're either going to mess up other people or you're going to mess up your own thinking. So if you take the information I'm going to give you and live with it for a couple of months and think about it and imagine and maybe check it out with examples, you will be able to get an awful lot of use out of it. And it has to do with the days of the week. So, if you're English or British or I don't know what, if you're a native English speaker, you may know the old rhyme, Monday's child is fair of face. Tuesday's child is full of grace. Wednesday's child is full of woe. Thursday's child has far to go. Friday's child is loving and giving. Saturday's child works hard for a living. But the child that's born on the Sabbath day, Sunday, is blithe and bonny and good and gay. That little rhyme tells you a lot about the nature or the basic starting point for people born on any day of the week. So if you're born on a Monday, you're good looking. If you're born on a Tuesday, you're full of grace, you're athletic, you move well. If you're born on a Wednesday, you're full of woe. And so you tend to see what's wrong. And that can be a good thing. It's a good thing if you, like Glenn in The Walking Dead, somebody said, why do you always imagine the worst? And he said, I imagine the worst, not because I expect it, but so I can prepare for it. So Wednesday's child, by all means, see what's wrong and understand what can go wrong, but not so that you're beaten up by it, but so you can do something about it. Thursday's child is far to go. Often they travel far to go, a distance, an actual distance. Friday's child is loving and giving. Saturday's child works hard for a living, and they do. So this is what I mean about check out the information. So don't tell anybody what you're doing or keep it to yourself. But you've got a friend, find out what day of the week they were born, and then observe their behaviour and what they talk about and how they explain things. And so maybe somebody born on a Saturday talks about how hard they work or how difficult a task was, but they managed to get it done because they work hard for a living. And so I'll go through the rhyme again, and I'll go through the sequence twice. Once the bad way, so to speak, and once the good way. So Monday's child is ruled by the moon, right? And the moon fluctuates. It goes through phases. So people born on a Monday, what are they like today? It really depends, because they can be changeable. They can fluctuate. They can be this week or today or this morning, and they can be full of energy and full of beans. But in the afternoon, they might be the opposite. because they fluctuate, they change. And so that's Monday for the moon. Tuesday is ruled by Mars, as you turn this way. Mars is the god of war. So think about people born on a Tuesday. Are they warlike? Are they aggressive? Are they hostile? Have they got lots of personal creative energy? Because Mars is personal creative energy, and they're busy with things. And they want to get things done, and they're active and enterprising, and so on from Mars. Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, the messenger of the gods, but also Mercury worries, and so. I don't quite know what to say about that, but with Mercury, think of it as Wednesday's are full of woe. They do tend to see what's wrong. So maybe you tell a friend who's born on Wednesday about an idea that you've got. Are they going to immediately tell you what's wrong with the idea, or point out the flaws, or point out what's difficult, or what's not going to work, or what you've got to overcome before you can actually get started? So this is what I mean about checking out the method. To find out what day of the week people were born, and listen to the way they talk and how they express themselves and how they explain things and what their starting point is, their degree of optimism, let's say, and the advice they would normally give people. So Wednesday. Thursday is Jupiter. And Jupiter is a planet of expansion. So people born on Thursday, Jupiter, have far to go. They expand, they're expansive, I don't know if they're optimistic, because they say that Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is supposed to be the life and soul of the party. But Sagittarians are really quite serious people, just because they are. So Jupiter has far to go, and it's Jupiter's expansion. Friday is Venus. And Venus is beauty and art and love and romance and relationships and partnerships and harmony, right? Because it's Venus. They're loving and giving, people born on Friday. So see who you know who's born on Friday, and see in what way they're loving and giving. Or maybe doesn't mean that they have been loved and that people have given to them, but it's more like their motivation is loving and giving, basically. So if you need support, talk to somebody on a Friday, and they'll be there, available for you. Saturday is Saturn. And Saturn is hard work, discipline, responsibility, that kind of serious. And so people on a Saturday are hardworking. They work hard for a living. They take things seriously. And so on. By contrast, I mentioned before with Jupiter and Sagittarians, they're really quite serious. Capricorns, ruled by Saturn, the people who've made me laugh until I cried were all Capricorns. So although Capricorn's serious, they can make you laugh like nobody else can. So that's Saturn, and then Sunday is obviously the Sun. Right, so Sunday, the child is born the Sabbath day, is blithe and bonny and good and gay. So what you do is you understand somebody born on a Monday doesn't quite know how to get started because they fluctuate. Then they put energy into it. Then they figure out what's wrong. Maybe they ought to. It might have been better to figure out what was wrong, then take action. But this is not the days of the week, so you're not sure what to do. You do something, then you figure out what's wrong, and then you expand upon what you discovered under Mercury. So maybe you discover what's wrong, and you get depressed because you expand on what's wrong, right? And then it's Friday. So Jupiter's followed by Venus. So you go off the rails, expanding the negativity of Mercury. But then at some point you find balance and you find yourself again, and you're willing to maybe see both sides of the situation. And then you work hard at it. Then followed by Saturday, followed by Sunday. Then you are uplifted, or you've got a spiritual understanding or whatever. And then you go back to the beginning again where you're uncertain and you put energy into it, and then you worry, and then you really worry, and then you find balance, and then you work hard, and then you find inspiration again. And that's the sequence. So depending on what your starting point is, given by the day of the week. So somebody born on a Tuesday, they throw themselves into things. They're Mars, they're active, they're getting things done. But then Mercury, the negative side is they figure out what's wrong, and that makes them depressed because all they can think about is what's wrong, and they expand upon that. Then they find balance, and then they work, and then they find inspiration, and then they wonder about their inspiration because the moon is fluctuation of the spiritual understanding that they get under the sun. And that puts them back to their own beginning point where they think, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And they do something and they put their energy into it. So if we go again and start with Monday, and this is what I'm meaning about going through it twice, you've got ideas about what you could do on a Monday or with the moon, and you choose the best, most likely one. You put your energy into it and you really make progress because you've got a sensible starting point and you put your energy into it and you really do something with it. Then at a certain point with Mercury, what you do is you assess the situation and you figure out what can you do differently to get a better outcome, or what should you stop doing because it's getting in the way. So this is full of woe, right? You're looking at what can go wrong or what's not working, and you do something about it, which means that when you've assessed the situation, discovered the weaknesses and discovered the strengths, then you can expand, Jupiter. You can expand on what's going to work, or you expand on what's positive or what's beneficial or what's going to give you a good outcome. That brings balance and harmony under Venus for Friday. And so you can create well and really do something positive and beneficial with the idea that you've got here. Then you work at it and you organize it and you structure it and you build. And that gives you inspiration because Saturday is followed by Sunday. And so you've got a sense of your purpose in life and your direction and a direction in which you want to go, which means that when you come back to Monday, when you come back to a starting point again or the beginning of a new cycle, then you've got a higher vibration, or you've got a better understanding of your purpose and your direction and what you're meant to do with your life, which means that when you put energy into it, it goes well. And that, I'm saying, is the sequence. So, find out what day of the week you were born. You do it through Google. Type in the date. Do Google for what day of the week was the 14th of July, 19 whatever, or 2000 whatever. And you'll get the day of the week. And then try this for yourself and see in what way it makes sense and what you can do with it, because it will give you insight into your own sequence, into your own way of going about doing things, that will explain why you act the way you act. It's because of the way you're built, because of the day of the week in which you were born. And then find out, maybe your parents or your brothers and sisters, find out what day of the week they were born, and then quietly on your own, in your own time, see what more information, what deeper understanding you get using this system based on the actual behavior of people that you know. The things they say, the things they do, the experiences they've had, their optimism, their pessimism, and so on. And then after a couple of months or a couple of years, once you begin to get the hang of it, then you can maybe use it in a reading to give you a better understanding of the basic nature of the questioner, just based on the day of the week that they were born. And then you talk to them in ways that they can understand, because if you talk to them in ways that harmonize with this sequence, then they're going to appreciate what you're saying and they're going to understand it and they're going to cooperate with it. That, I think, is what I was going to do. So I can't remember if I mentioned, I was going to look at the comments that Scott made about the original Celtic Cross, about Susan going into hospital. And I can't find the comment. I'll look for it again. I probably looked at it and not noticed it and just gone over it. But I'll try and find it, because I want to I appreciate what Scott did, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Ideally, I'll do it next time. So that was it for today. Thanks for watching and have a good week. Okay, bye-bye.